Judge Rosen was eventually given page after page of documents that the lead prosecutor, Rick Convertino, never handed over to the defense. Among them, this letter from a drug kingpin named Milton Butch Jones, whose prison cell was next to the prosecution's star witness, Yusef Mimsa.
And I read it, and it was pretty shocking.
In it, Jones says Mimsa boasted how he lied to the FBI, how he fooled the Secret Service agent on his case.
This was before anything about what Mimsa was going to say was public. He had so much detail about what Mimsa later did testify to that he could only have gotten that information at the time from Mimsa.
Okay, so for those in Detroit who don't know and others that are interested, Milton Butch Jones, one of Detroit's at least most famous, up until Big Meats, the most famous black gangster, has died. He died some days ago or a week ago maybe. He had been free for a few months after he got sentenced to 30 years in the year maybe 2000 for multiple homicides and drug convictions. But he had a lot of drama around him. A lot of people called him a snitch for different times in his career. I don't really know. Check this out. So we're going to get back into that at the very end. But yes, when he was taken into custody in the late 90s and he was looking at the death penalty because some of his charges included kidnapping of people, and during the few years that he was free in the mid to late 90s, he gave a note to the federal prosecutor because he was some Middle Eastern guys got picked up right after 9/11 in Detroit, and it was a big national case. It was going to be the first case tried after 9/11 for another domestic terrorism, and the prosecutors, Convertino and Keith Corbett, who I know well. I mean, I met them doing interviews for my Detroit Mafia thing years ago, who seemed regular. They decided not to turn it over to the defense. So did Butch Jones, who was he snitching on? So what Butch Jones tried to do, or what he did, is he wrote a letter saying that he was next to the snitch against the Middle Eastern guys, the Middle Eastern guy got caught with a lot of false documents. He was just running a false document kind of hustle. Maybe stolen credit cards. He would get you fake ID because, a lot of the Middle Eastern people, just like Hispanic or whoever, might be in the country illegally. And he put a terrorism case on them. And Butch Jones wrote a letter that said, no, the guy's lying. He's just trying to get out of his own case. So at least as far as we know, Butch, I'm sure he was trying to get some benefit for himself, but he was trying to save those guys from the terrorism case. Again, I'm sure he wanted something for himself, but is snitching on someone who's a false snitch on someone else? I mean, is that someone you should call a snitch? I don't know. Mr. Jones, Butch had, people said he informed on his suppliers back in the 80s. I don't know. I'll say this much before we get into a little highlight reel of Brett from YBI, who was a worker for Butch Jones back in those days, and a long chunk of a documentary made by America's Black Journal. That's how big of a deal Milton Butch Jones was in the mid-90s when he got out of prison, and he wrote a book long before any of these other guys foresaw that this black gangster stuff would be sellable, just like the Italian Mafia stuff was. He had a book out, but he was still messing around. I came to know different people that were Jones's suppliers, that worked for him, people that supplied the people that supplied Butch Jones. And I'll just say this. I'm not talking about anybody in particular, but I sort of got the impression from knowing a lot of these guys that at the highest levels, and you can see it with what goes on with the cartel people in Mexico, at the highest levels, when they make these real big cases, there's only so many people that can get, especially back then, before you had all the Mexicans that were in the U.S. and, you know, back in the 70s, 80s, even into the 90s, early 2000s, only so many people could get large amounts of stuff and only so many people could sell it. And there were different people that would be like, oh, do you want to interview so-and-so? And I'd be like, well, didn't he tell on you? And they'd be like, oh, well, sort of. I think a lot of people might have gave different info about each other at different times, and they still messed with each other later on, because if you didn't mess with people that might have snitched sometimes, you weren't going to be able to get any money on the high level. Now, that's not true for everybody. I'm not saying that applies to everybody. But, so was Milton Jones some type of informant or snitch? Maybe. I don't know exactly on what case. As you'll see on the terrorism case, it seems like more like he tried to save the guys. But here's, I've done a million things on YBI. I did something on Butch just recently. You can go back and watch it all. My channel is full of stuff. This is just a quick highlight reel, but this also includes the terrorism snitching allegations.
In Butch Jones' words, it's called earning your bones. Jones moved up the ranks swiftly. By his 16th birthday, to his list of credits, Jones added a spree of bank robberies, a shot drug house, and finally, hire. In an alley like this, he hid in a dumpster, waiting for his victim to empty his trash as he did every morning at the same time. Little did he know, this would be the last time he would make the trip. Tell me about the hit, the first hit.
A guy come to me, he knew I had heart, and he was like, man, I'm gonna give you 20,000. I need this guy dealt with. I was like, you must want the president shot or somebody. And that's the way I looked at it, you know. I said 20,000. And I went on and laid on in the garbage. And when he came out that morning, I shot him. I went to dude, got mine to 10,000. It was just business. Wasn't nothing personal, it was just business.
You talked a little bit about looking at the guy's face. You talked about the look in his eye.
Yeah.
That meant something to you. Why is that?
Because I was told that this guy was a real tough guy. So I said, okay, then, and I wanted to see his expression on his face, that he had slipped. And I wanted to let him know, you out of there, you know. So I looked him right in the face and I wanted to see his expression, you know, and the expression he had on his face, he was like, damn. It was like, you know, like you dropped something on your pants. You're like, damn, wow, you know you done messed up. And that's the kind of expression he had on his face.
Man, Butch come home, everybody loved it. Cause he was like a big ass kid. Then came home, he done been to Ionia Jacks. He got all these penitentiary stories. Everybody loved him, respect man. You know what I mean?
Before his 25th birthday, he was leading the most notorious drug trafficking ring in Detroit history. At its height, Young Boys Incorporated, as the gang was known, was grossing $100,000 a day.
I had to have it. It was like oxygen to me. I can't breathe without no money.
Actually, he's living with us on 10 Mile and Addison with me, Wayne, and the whole motherfucking crew. Wayne got a house, man, with a swimming pool in the back. We got business in the driveway, whatever, you know, whatever, everything what you would think. But all our neighbors is Jews, Chaldeans or whatever. You know what I'm saying? They like, damn, they stay in their motherfucking window.
By the time Milton Jones was 15, he had reached a level of illegal activity and violence that only the hardest of criminals know. When he started his drug empire in 1978, police officials say Young Boys Incorporated, as his gang was known, controlled 80% of the heroin traffic in Detroit. The gang was also implicated in 68 homicides.
Out of New York. That real shit. You know what I'm saying? Motherfuckers be talking about, yeah, man, I got some dope, man, you can put a 1 on. Motherfucker, we just put 80s on shit. You know what I'm saying? We'll take 1 quarter. Now we got 81 quarters. You know what I'm saying? We just putting an 80 on that bitch. You know what I'm saying? Everybody got paid. If a nigga knew how to get his money, if a nigga had the heart to get out there, we had spots on Calvert and motherfucking 12th. motherfucking Highland Park that we tore in half. You know what I'm saying? We got a lot of crew out of Highland Park once they seen our mentality. Prayer and Joy Road was our first spot. We took that bitch from Billy Peoples and Ricky Peoples down. Double XPM, that was their name. You know, everybody was stamping their packs. So it came a time we venturing out every motherfucking where.
But the east side.
Mac and Gray. Motherfucking Mac and Bewick. We had tore that bitch up, but say like when we first was getting down, man, and we would hit a neighborhood, motherfuckers didn't actually know what the fuck we was doing. You know what I'm saying? Just some little bad motherfuckers over in the neighborhood till it just got out of hand. And they could see, damn, them motherfuckers get money. And they ain't buying it. You know what I'm saying?
The police was trying to bust me. So if I knew they was gonna come on Monterey today, even if they was on Monterey, I say, when they come, y'all set up on Dwayne. While they over here, I would be on another street, slanging, you know, while we watching them.
So in the cat and mouse game, you were winning at this time.
Yes.
And that was as much a rush as anything else.
Oh man, you couldn't get no higher than that. You know, not only was I'm beating them, I'm getting money, you know, and I'm saying, and I'm showing them, y'all can't catch me.
Although the Detroit police worked overtime to stop Young Boys Incorporated, Jones continued to elude local authorities. It took cooperation between the Detroit Police Department and federal agencies, primarily the DEA, to stop Jones.
On the 24-hour arrest report, you would see the same adults and juvenile names over and over again, and you started to see a pattern there. So what it took was a collaborative effort from our department, our narcotics division and DEA, and we sat down and said, hey, look, there's more to this case than what this organization than what we really thought.
How do you put together a drug enterprise with that level of organization and kind of innovation? You are the man who basically wrote the modern textbook on urban drug running. Really? Aren't you?
Well, my input, my attributes to the organization was that I knew how things go. You know, I knew the rules, you know, and they was looking for direction. They needed somebody to tell them the rules. And the rules was, you know, if you're gonna slang, you can't do no telling. It's part of the police job to stop, rash you, pick you, or bust you if they can. You see what I'm saying? It's nothing personal with them. They doing what the taxpayers is paying them to do. You know, we were really fighting several different fronts. So, you know, there's something had to break. So, and we could not have done it without the effort with the feds, because they had the extra tools to help us. Young Boys became so sophisticated that we did have to rely upon not just information and search warrants. We did have to rely on federal wiretaps in order to break them.
In December 1982, Jones and 40 other alleged upper and middle-level YBI employees were indicted by a federal grand jury. Jones escaped arrest until March 22, 1983, when he turned himself into federal authorities. After running an operation that grossed an estimated $35 million and employed nearly 1,000 people, Jones served 9.5 years of a 12-year sentence.
Mr. Jones indicates that he was never caught doing anything wrong, which is one of the main reasons they could never catch him for so many years. The organization flourished from 1978 to 1982. And even then, they couldn't catch him. He had to turn himself in to be caught. And that was because the government had to come up with a law to catch him, running a continual criminal enterprise. The response?
Well, I mean, my response is simple. Mr. Jones is living in a fantasy world. He was convicted of a very serious federal narcotics offense, operating a continuing criminal enterprise, which basically says he survived in a leadership position, amassing a fortune selling narcotics on the streets of this city.
The nature of a criminal or ex-con like Butch Jones, friend or foe?
Foe. I mean, the most successful ex-cons, again, they're usually intelligent, they're very charismatic, they have good people skills, and they do a lot of things to shield outright illegal activity from somebody pointing a finger at them. They do not tolerate people cooperating with law enforcement, and if they get a hint that somebody's going to cooperate with law enforcement, they'll go and execute that person. But they're not going to present themselves and project themselves as an executioner, because everybody will be turned off at that. They want to be able to go in and go to the crowd and slap everybody five and say the latest saying, so they're part of the group and build up that trust and that honor and that respect, but it's all phony.
Butch Jones is sent to jail. Finally, he gets out. Now he has a book that does not have in it a repentant tone anywhere, realistically. This man can effectively be a role model, selling a story about his criminal exploits. And should he be allowed to do that?
One, I have, from a personal perspective, I really can't see how any young person in the city or anywhere can look to someone like that as a role model.
Should someone like Butch Jones, an extraordinary criminal, be allowed to profit from their criminal exploits by retelling their stories?
Let me turn it around just briefly. Let's ask the victims, the people that were murdered by young boys, by their wrecking crew. Let's ask the people who became addicted. Let's ask the young women who wound up selling their bodies for heroin, or turning tricks, or doing what they whatever young boys wanted them to do. Let's ask them how they feel about this guy for profiting from, or anyone, if for that matter, profiting from their books.
The issue was raised, Butch, by some in the law enforcement community and other circles, that they're appalled that you have a book out there now and actually making money legitimately off the story of your drug dealing past. What's your response to that?
It's basically is that I paid my debt to society, first of all. And second of all, my book is information. People is buying my book because of what I've been through in life. I'm not trying to justify, glorify selling drugs or nothing like this. I'm just saying that it's wrong, and I'm saying now why it's wrong.
To other folks, they're going to be on the fence. They're going to be like, people can change.
Well,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then some folks are going to say, I don't believe them.
You can't do nothing about that. No matter how good a person try to do or whatever, you always got opposition.
What do you personally regret most about that whole episode in your life at this time?
Well, I regret the people that I had to shoot. I regret the people that I was selling heroin to, as far as messing their life up, or whatever role I played in. A lot of people, mind you, a lot of people that bought heroin from me was older than me. They was doing heroin way before I came about, but it was still wrong. It was still part of a mass genocide that I didn't know about at that particular time.
Tell me this, if Butch Jones could do it again and get away with it, would you?
No. It ain't no getting away. You can't fool yourself. That's what I'm trying to tell you. It ain't no doing it, getting away with it. You just fooling yourself. You do it, get away with it for a minute, and you live that life. I lived the American dream. I lived in the best houses, ate the best food, been all over the world like a globetrotter. That's nothing.
That is precisely the reason a young person might not listen. Because Butch Jones made millions. Butch Jones made sure others made millions. Butch Jones got paid, they got paid. Butch Jones lived to tell the story. I can live to tell the story.
Yeah, but see, I ain't paid my dues. I got 16 years of being incarcerated. See, you got to look at the downside of that. Is it worth it? Are you willing to spend 16 years out your life? Or not? You may not spend 16 years. You may do life, or better yet, you might get killed.
I remember one day Bush dropping me and this other cat, Mark Jones off. God rest his soul. Ohio. Yeah, he dropping us off on Highland and Hamilton. We had the freak of the week back then. We was doing $70,000 a day, one spot.
What spot was that?
Hamilton and Highland. We got the whole building. The building tore down now.
Damn, what was that, 1979?
That's 79, freak of the week.
That's a lot of money.
You know what I'm saying? Mojo was on the radio, the mystery tune. All the time the name is knee deep, but we thinking it's freak of the week. Bam, we stamped the pack stat. Boom. We got some dope taking a 90. A motherfucking 90. Killing them. Dig, okay, we had a great dope giveaway. We passing out cars all through the neighborhood, everywhere. All through this motherfucker. Dwayne and Justin, the great dope giveaway. Lo and behold, 9 o'clock in the morning, we passing out packs. This motherfucker, Benaki, and that's Central Narcotics. They hit us. You know what I'm saying? I got away. They catch Wayne brother, thinking he Wayne. Give him the case. They find the dope and everything. You know what I'm saying? But after that, from the dope we gave away, might have had killed a few motherfuckers or whatever, and had OD'd off the blow. So we couldn't set up. No, wherever we set up on the west side, they would hit our spot within a couple of days. We go to Highland Park with it. That's how we get the spot on Hamilton and Highland. We had the whole building. Like New Jack City, the Carter. We was doing the Carter back in 79, you know what I'm saying? We run the dope. If you don't live in this bitch, we ain't letting you in. You know what I mean? We ran the whole building. Highland Park police with they shady bitch ass, they sent a motherfucker at us. We want our cut. Oh, y'all ain't gonna be able to do this. We told them get the dick. And when we told them that, whew, they came like the motherfucking army every day. But we was on recon for they motherfucking ass. We got 10 apartments in this bitch. You'll never find none of us with no dope. All kind of bullshit and arrests or whatever, you know. But shit, we rolled that motherfucker. We rolled that bitch in army suits every day.
The story B was telling right there is about the murder of Dwayne Davis, Wonderful Wayne, who started out together with Butch and the rest, but YBI all broke up and they were rival factions and there became a lot of homicides. Everyone says Butch had Wayne killed. He ended up being acquitted for it after his first federal prison term. He did a couple years from 84 to 92. He was in the feds. And he had to do a couple years in the state of Michigan for accessory after the fact of murder. So he was out from like 94 to maybe 99. And then he got all those a couple murder, kidnapping, and drug trafficking. And then he was next to that guy who was accusing the people of being terrorists. So he didn't get out till 2025. So Milton Jones spent almost his whole life in prison. He had a manslaughter case from like 74 to 78 or 73 to 78, in and out on parole from 78 to 80. He had his YBI run 80 to 83. Then he went on a run, cut a plea bargain with the feds, 84 to 94, locked up. And then I think he got locked up again in 99 at the latest. He was not out for very much time. He also was not a part of the elite traffickers of the city that could get weight. He was a guy that was known, during the YBI run, YBI was just a group of workers that if you had weight, you could drop it off to them and they would get rid of it. Like the Davis brothers would give stuff to Sylvester Seal Murray, who would give it to Butch Jones. Eddie Jackson gave stuff to certain former, well, they weren't calling themselves YBI then, but those young guys were people that could get rid of stuff. And Butch had different plugs at different times, but he was never anybody with a big ongoing plug. And Milton Jones himself grew up already in a neighborhood, the 10th Precinct, that was one of the most drug-infested and corrupt in the country when he was growing up in the early 70s. You had the 10th Precinct scandal, where basically the whole 10th Precinct was involved in narcotics trafficking in the mid 70s to the late 70s. well, the scandal broke in the late 70s, but it covered from like the early 70s to the late 70s. Notorious hitmen like Chester Campbell were from over there. Henry Marzette, the Detroit police officer turned drug kingpin, who was so rich by the 1950s. Remember in the scene in The Godfather, when New Year's 1959 or 1960 comes and Castro takes over and the mafia has to flee and they lose all their property in Cuba, and they're upset about that. And that's one of the ongoing themes of The Godfather Part 2. Well, there was a black gangster, Henry Marzette, from that part of town, that 10th Precinct area where Butch Jones was from an even earlier time. He had been a crooked cop in the 50s, then he became a heroin kingpin, and he owned land in the late 50s in Cuba as well. So Butch Jones was just another guy in a long line from a corrupt and violent part of Detroit, that Dexter 10th Precinct area. Pretty interesting. And again, this was just one highlight reel. I have many hours of stuff about Butch Jones and YBI. If you're interested, skip around in my channel. Just keep looking at stuff because it's endlessly fascinating. And remember to like, share, and subscribe.
This thing is out of hand now, man.
The guy that you shot in the leg and who subsequently ended up getting, and you went to prison because this was now murder.
Right. And what really actually saved me is when the lady who testified up there testified that she told the whole story just like I told it to you, that I kept trying to tell the guy I didn't want to do nothing to him, you know, and that the guy came out and started stabbing him and wanted to kill her and the baby, and I wouldn't let him. And this is how the judge ended up convicted me of manslaughter.
Jones was convicted of manslaughter for the killings at Richton and Hamilton. He served 4.5 years. Instead of going straight, upon his release, Jones put together the most prolific drug organization in the country at that time. He handpicked hardcore criminals from his neighborhood to create the nucleus of Young Boys Incorporated.
Young Boys originated in the middle 70s, and basically it originated in the 10th Precinct area.
Deputy Police Chief Nathaniel Topp worked the Special Investigation Squad back in the late 70s when Young Boys Incorporated was starting out.
They amassed a small workforce, or excuse me, a large workforce of youngsters, teenagers, individuals in their 20s and 30s that would literally go into an area, say for instance, that was controlled by the traditional older dope dealers, and just by the sheer numbers of 20, 30, 40, and 50 individuals would just saturate a particular 3-4 block area and basically run off the competition.
Butch, how did a young guy get into Young Boys Incorporated? What was the procedure?
Well, basically, if you wasn't from this neighborhood and you wanted to roll, you wanted to be down, you had to get somebody to sponsor you. In other words, somebody had to vouch for you, but you was a stand-up guy, meaning that you wouldn't tell.
It all goes on routinely. It's commonplace in many areas of Detroit. Young people are on the street selling heroin. Here's Butch, 20 years old, recovering from a heroin addiction that began when he was 17, and he started buying dope from Young Boys Incorporated.
I've copped dope from kids as young as 8, 9 years old, off of Dwayne and Dexter.
The kids work in teams, one collecting the money, another delivering the dope, others acting as lookouts, and all are decoys for one another. And when a lookout throws a signal, a busy street can become deserted in a matter of seconds. That way, a cruising police officer sees nothing. And when they are caught, sources tell me the adult drug dealer will give his young runners all the protection money can buy.
A lot of the bigger dope men, they make it a practice of letting them know if they take care of the heroin sales on the street, or if they're a good worker, that they'll come to their rescue anytime they get in any trouble with the police or get caught with heroin on the street.
As a result, Young Boys Incorporated has expanded into Pontiac, where police say the group has been connected with at least one murder. And they're reportedly recruiting in the schools, like Mackenzie High on the west side, where school officials are quoted as saying they're worried about the student body being infiltrated.
They was coming to wreck you. It wasn't gonna be no talking. You leaving out of there to EMS. So I'm setting an example. I came and I tried to do it peacefully. You didn't want it like that.
7 o'clock on a warm evening in March, and you are riding in a caravan of unmarked police cars about to raid what they call a major distribution outlet of heroin in the Brewster housing project. The assault on the apartment comes fast.
There they are. Ain't nothing for you to see in here, you understand? Well, just keep your head right there. Don't turn out or talk.
Police say they found what appears to be heroin with a street value of about $4,000. Police tell me some of the heroin would be sold to other drug dealers in the project, and some would be given to kids to sell on the street. The place, police say, is a suspected dope house in the Young Boys Incorporated network. All in all, 5 people are put under arrest, and police call it a small victory in a war they themselves admit they are losing. Raiding by day and by night has hardly put a dent in the heroin trafficking on the street. By the time it reaches this level, police say it's just too late.
Arrest 16 people all at one time over in the Jeffries projects. 15 minutes after we take them downtown, there's another 25 or 30 runners out there dealing dope. That doesn't sound like we're winning to me.
If the battle against youngsters selling heroin is being lost, then surely juvenile court is Waterloo. Last year, 1981, police in Detroit say they arrested about 1,000 youngsters under 17 for drug offenses, but of those 1,000 kids put under arrest, only about 250 were actually charged in juvenile court. Of them, only about 125 were found guilty, and of those found guilty, almost half received probation.
They found a new wrinkle. When I say they, I'm talking about the bad guys. They found a new wrinkle. They found a way to use the system to beat the system.
You had a classic saying that if they saw a scout car, a marked car, or an unmarked unit, they would say off the hook, 5 O's in the hood. And that would be a general trend that phrase that you would hear throughout the city. And they literally took over. That was the precursor for street sales in the United States. It originated here in Detroit.
Dexter and Monterey, 3234 Monterey.
And
yeah.
So that was in the 70s. She was coming up.
That was in the 70s in 1973.
Tell us about that neighborhood back then.
Man, I tell you, it was a vibrant neighborhood, man. I think the automobile industry was booming back then. A lot of people had migrated in the 50s. Our times was good, for sure. And I think Detroit was #1 in black ownership in homes and stuff like that. And people were working. People were working and thriving and having a couple of vices. You know what I'm saying? I mean, feeling good. You know, drinking, working, smoking, making money and feeling good. You know what I'm saying? You know, and that kind of filtered off into things like drugs and stuff like that. But hey, I'm not here to, hey man, I can't make this up. And this is in the 70s, man. I had to be about 5, 6, 7 years old. Man, I used to see buses, man, come out down there on Dwayne, where Dwayne was on the other side of Dexter and Elmhurst and Monterey, kind of adjacent. And be buses with 50 or 60 people getting off the buses.
There are buses driving down Dexter.
Yeah. Hey, man, I'm trying to describe it. I mean, multiple buses with anywhere from 25 to 30 people getting off of each bus. It's almost like simultaneously, man. I never seen that like that. I had to be about 7 years old.
I mean, it's that many people coming and going to work.
Hey, man, and you know what? It's surprisingly enough, man, they were going across the street at Monster Burgers. It was a restaurant called Monster Burgers, right on Dwayne and Dexter. And I'm a little kid, they had footlongs like 12 inches, right? And you had real big, thick Monster Burgers. They had to be doing about in the thousands a day. I'm like, well, you know, I'm a little, you know, I'm just a young adolescent, right? I'm like, why are these motherfuckers getting off this bus and going to Monster Burgers? But then I didn't know, but I later found out that every time you purchase a burger, they were selling heroin.
Wow.
That's ingenious.
Did you know a guy back then, what was his name? Big Son?
I don't.
I think he was around back in that era. But anyway, so you didn't know that Monster Burger was actually a spot.
It was a hub,
a big spot.
Fuck yeah, it was, man.
Wow, I never heard that story. Monster Burger.
For real, man. I mean, really. But you know.
But you would not, if you didn't know, you wouldn't know. I mean, were there dope fiends like hanging out in front of
No, it wasn't. You know, and
prostitutes hanging around.
And back then, man, people who were getting high, it wasn't your typical crackhead. I mean, well,
that was on folk crack.
Yeah, well, yeah, right.
So it's a different era. So we talk
right.
So people then kind of took their dope home.
That's right. Do the little thing and stuff like that, man. It's always, and it wasn't that violent either.
So
breaking in people's houses, right?
So as a kid, you have any fear walking down Dexter?
No, not at all, man. I could say that a lot of those guys, man, that my mother used to cook. You know, my parents were married, and a lot of our parents were married. You know, I mean, they were having
that. In that neighborhood at that time growing up, there were a lot of two-family households, mom and dad in the house.
Yeah, quite a few. Yep, quite a bit. Yep, quite a bit. And we all kind of bounced off. I knew Mr. and Mrs. Hughes and Mr. and Mrs. Johnson and all that shit. You know, the
neighbors knew each other.
Putting the neighbor in neighborhood, you dig? You know what I'm saying? And I appreciated it for real, man. And there were times in the 70s were great, man.
Okay.
But they were some money-getting motherfuckers, though. I'm not bullshit, man.
Well, we know now, looking back, that of course was the golden era for Detroit and hustlers.
Absolutely. A beautiful time, man. Beautiful time.
And when guys making money hit the streets didn't run down the neighborhood.
No.
That was still a very...
No. Wasn't nothing like that.
But you would explain to me a little of the divide in that neighborhood.
Man, you know, just the Monterey Street was a centralized, it was a central street that people, it was a borderline. Because a lot of our parents were parents, but some of us was on welfare, including my family.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? But it was just a vibrant street. We had all the girls. We had a lot of youth on that block. It was something about that street, man. Now, we go further south, Elmhurst wasn't like that. They didn't come on Monterey. Tuxedo, they didn't come on Monterey. Webb, they didn't go down that far. They all stayed on that other, because there's a borderline. Roosevelt was a street, Elmhurst, Tuxedo, Webb, and so forth, and on.
What about the nicer houses like?
Oh, Calvary. Oh, that was beautiful, man. Beautiful.
Leslie.
Leslie was nice. That's going back. That's going north.
Councilman Hood stayed.
Nick Hood.
Nick Hood stayed in that neighborhood.
See that? Yep. Monterey was the borderline street, though. I don't.
Was that all still considered Russell Woods?
No,
Russell Woods.
Russell Woods was on the other side of Dexter.
Okay.
Was on the west side of Dexter. Yeah. Beautiful. Aretha Franklin lived over there. Quite a few.
And Councilman.
Shouts out to Miss Kilpatrick.
Mr. Kilpatrick. Kilpatrick still over there.
Yep.
Did they? Mm-hmm. They come out of that neighborhood.
Mm-hmm. Carolyn Cheeks Kilpatrick. And Kwame. Yeah, hits them.
And Bernard.
Shouts out to him too.
Shout out to the Kilpatrick family.
Yep.
For sure.
Right.
All right, so let's move it forward a little bit. We now looking back, that neighborhood would become ground zero for a street organization known as Young Boys Incorporated, acronym YBI.
Yeah.
Walk us through your memories of when the neighborhood changed or when that YBI thing became a thing.
I had to be about 75, 76. I was 9 years old. Wait a minute, hold on. I was 7. 6, about now I was like 7 years old. And my mother, her being a housewife, she would cook a lot for all the kids on the block. And they used to come over there. We had a 4-family flat. Had some pretty girls on the left, right side of us, and some pretty girls, 15, 16 years old. And once again, that block was full of teenagers. Mostly women, though.
Okay.
The boys used to ride up down them streets, man, with them vets.
And they always wind up, and reefer was real big back in them days, man. 76 was, you know, but all the girls was on our block. And I used to see them, man, in Miss Bradford. You know, my mom used to cook, man, and she was just such a sweet woman. May God rest her soul, mom. You know what I'm saying? And she used to cook, man, and just get a food.
So what did you think being seen? Because I would guess by the late 70s, early 80s, you start seeing younger guys in the game, right?
Yeah.
And
my age.
Your age. And so being, what did you think about it? What were people thinking about these young guys with all this money and these Corvettes and Jeeps and stuff?
You know, a lot of those guys, I think, that had succumbed to those streets because some of them were from single-parent families, too. And I think many of them is just kind of caught up in the life because it's a fast lane money. You know what I'm saying? Now, I mean, just think about the psychic of that. If you make more money than your father, come on now. They're hard-working people going to the factory, but you making $500 or $600, maybe $2,000 or $3,000 a day off them penny caps and all that type. And I asked me how I know some of my homeboys, and Cedric Smoke Williams, that's my homeboy, and that's my brother, Darrell Foster, another guy, and then, you know, and I gotta give out a shout to Timmy Peoples and Herbie and all them guys and stuff like that.
Timmy and Herbie.
You know, right, you know, little Teddy and all them type of guys. I mean, I know them and stuff like that, you know. And just think about the psychic of that.
And the effect that has on a whole community.
Hell yeah.
When you got a group of young men, like you said, making more money than a dad working at the plant who ain't making bad money himself.
Man, look.
But he ain't making street
money like that, fast like that. And then, too, back in those days, they shared their money, man. You hear me? And I was a 9-year-old, couldn't even fucking ride I was on training wheels, man. You know what I'm saying? They helped me get off those training wheels. Helped me they bought the bike for me. You did.
When do you remember when kind of violence started to creep into the neighborhood?
It had to be starting in those 80s, I think. You know, late 70s and 80s, early 80s. But they were on their way out back then. They were trying to, you know, they were going through indictments from what I hear, you know. But it wasn't like, to me, they had a crew called, I take that back. I didn't hear about a lot of gun violence. I didn't hear all that. But they would just beat you up real bad.
Wrecking crew.
Yeah, wrecking crew. Bats and shit like that. Back then, chains and all that. It wasn't like that violent like it was. And then two, they're not coming by your crib and shooting up your mama's house. That was a no-no. All that old gruesome shit, no. That didn't happen.
That didn't happen.
That didn't happen, man, no. Not with that crew.
Right.
I didn't see it. You know what I'm saying? Didn't even hear of it like that. You know what I'm saying?
Okay, so you become a member of the Detroit Police Department.
Yeah.
What year?
1994. 1994. The 80s in city Detroit was murder capital of the world. We held that position, not to glorify that bullshit,
but it was a rough time.
It was rough, man. In the 80s, it was rough, man. A lot of my friends got shot up and killed and shit because that crack epidemic came through there. So that's when the violence came
back. So let's back us up. When do you remember, that coke crack epidemic? So by the time you get on the police force in the 94,
94, I got on 84
rather. That the crack epidemic had hit heavy in the mid 80s.
Oh, yeah,
and definitely in the early 90s.
It wiped out 3 generations, man. Wiped 3 generations out. When that crack hit, and it just, you know, the dynamics of it, the women getting high. A lot of those guys that I know, we never used drugs in the 70s like that. I mean, other than our uncles and, you know, maybe shooting a little bit, tooting and all that, you know what I'm saying? But we wasn't like, the crackhead got you going all over because it's a synthetic drug that's mixed in with whatever cocaine, you know, it's a synthetic that have you running all night, make you want to take from your mama, steal from your brother.
There's no off switch.
That's right. Break into my house, your house, Mrs. McGillicuddy's house. You can't do things like that without there being some repercussions, homeboy.
So by the time you get on the force in 94, the crack epidemic and the effects of crack is front and center.
Took it to another level, the 80s for sure. Billy Joe Chambers. Shouts out to the Chamber brothers too. I was 16, 17 years old when they were in the environment. They had about a 3 or 4 year run maybe.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You know.
Shout out to the Chamber boys.
Yeah, absolutely. But what the difference was to me, the 80s was a little bit different than the 90s, because the 90s, everybody had a bag. See, back in the 80s, it's only a few crew that had it. But see, in the 90s, when that cocaine came in, they said, hey, if I'm that man, if I'm that guy, let me give CB 2 or 3 keys. Yeah, everybody was putting people on, which generated more money.
So,
but violent though.
Did you immediately go into narcotics?
No.
So walk us through how'd your career progress? You joined the force in 94.
94, right? I was a regular patrolman and stuff like that on the east side, 9th precinct, grass shit in Gunston. That's the worst precinct in the fucking
about that neighborhood.
Man, shit. Mac, Chalmers, Whittier, Gratiot, 6 miles. I mean, it's a big precinct. It's like 15 square miles, man.
So, Mac and Gray, would that fall?
Yes.
That would fall in, because it's a famous.
Yes.
Maybe more famous.
Infested with crack.
Right. Demetrius Holloway spot.
My man.
Gotten out in rest in peace.
Great R.I.P.
So that means Mac and
Maserati Rick was all from out there.
Oh, that you guys was sharing that too with the 5th then too.
Yeah, it's a borderline, the 5th and the 9th precinct.
5th and 9th. So that's Crown Zero. That's a rough neighborhood.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Hey man, and hey, I'm not bullshitting you, man. The East Side guys, man, and that's where the Gratiot and Gunston, that's where the 9th precinct was. Hey man, them boys would grind like a motherfucker over there. I'm talking about $1 million spot. Crack off of crack.
You had
East Siders would do that type of shit.
You had some of the biggest guys in the city operating over there. You had Big Ed Hansett, you had Maserati Rick, you had Demetrius.
81, I had shot a guy on Cascade, man, and he was testifying on me, you know what I mean? But 80, okay, we had ventured off. We went to Boston, Massachusetts. We had got money up there, you know what I'm saying? I stayed up there for a little while, but when I came back, I fuck around, got caught. You know what I'm saying? We had Benzes, we had Jags, we had Jeep, whatever you can name, we was riding them on this bitch. Cascade, we had came up with some dope from a motherfucker, some strange ass shit that was orange. We was paying $50 a quarter. That's the only way he would sell it, by the quarter. So we would buy like, give us 2,000 them quarters. You know what I'm saying? And we was selling shit $5 a pack. We the first motherfuckers to come out with $5 packs of mixed jab. We was killing them. Uno all day, every day. You know what I'm saying?
That was the brand name Uno?
Yep. Bush them had the Bomb, Hoochie Khan, and Raymond them had Rolls Royce. Bone Man had so-and-so. You know what I'm saying? It was other blows like whatchamacallit, shit. So many blows back then. You know what I mean? But we had spots all over this bitch. We was Pontiac, Southwest, downtown, Hamtramck, North End a bad motherfucker. Man, we was everywhere. You name it, we was pushing packs. And you know, the game had just went to another level, man. Everybody was getting their own thing. You know what I'm saying? And some motherfuckers could not compete. You know what I'm saying? They couldn't come. Was
people getting pushed out of the spots by violence or just best blow wins?
A law in the game is best blow win. That's that downtown shit. They don't give a fuck what you doing. If you can get down there and hold your own and your blow tight, do your thing, young man. You know what I'm saying?
When did you notice a lot of, in this neighborhood, the violence increasing?
Well, shit, the violence had been going on, because when I first, like 16 years old, playing in the alley on Martindale, me and my man, we jumping on this motherfucking, this carpet that's rolled up in the alley. Jumping on that bitch, making the bees pop out and we'll run. There was a whole lot of bees up in that bitch. We fuck around and unroll the motherfucker. It's a motherfucker in there. This bitch might have been dead for about a month. You know what I'm saying? This bitch, purple, green, everything dried up. I guess he OD'd or whatever. I ain't see no bullet holes in him or nothing, but I'm like, this is the first dead body I done seen, you know what I'm saying? So we kicking this bitch in the head. Fuck him. You know what I'm saying? We hitting him. We trying to bust his shit with bricks and then fuck him. He dead, you know what I'm saying? Rolled him back up in carpet. Went on our way. You know what I'm saying?
Well, now, how much time did you do that initial time?
Shit. I done did almost 8 years.
No, that very first.
First bit, I did 2 years on a 4 to 10.
So you came home in 83?
Yeah.
That's when the big, okay, so.
I came home in 86.
Oh, 80.
I went to jail March 83.
Oh, so you went right before the indictment.
Yeah.
So take us to 1983, or 82.
Wayne got killed.
Tell us about that.
Right before 83. If Wayne hadn't got killed, we possibly would have got indicted because they was invested us in doing some investigation on us.
So Wayne's crew wasn't part of the indictment?
No, because we were separate crews. See,
tell us about the day Mike got. Is that Mr. Doyle? That was your guy, right?
Yeah, that was my guy. Like, spot on Hogarth and Lawton. There's numerous bags up there. We got Uno, Hocus Pocus, Ooh La La. We got about 4 blows, but it's the same dope. Put it all through the neighborhood and other spots. So, you know, other cats got their thing down. Wayne like bust most spots. I go up on Hogarth and Lawton, lead the crew up there. Some niggas run them off. Run them off again, shooting at them. I come up there blasting. And that night Wayne come in town. Me and Wayne right up there in my Volvo. We get out the car and we holler at this cat. Damn, what's up, man? What dude say, actually I almost say them names with all this here. Yeah. What's done is done. You know what I'm saying? B ain't never been no snitch about shit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, you gotta use all specific.
You know what I'm saying? So, did you talk to such and such? He like, Wayne like, I ain't gotta talk to no motherfucking body about putting my shit down. You know what I'm saying? Nigga laughing in the window, whatever. Okay. I'll be up here tomorrow. Lo and behold, 8 in the morning, we're on the corner of Cascade in Boston, loading up cars. Me and Wayne in my Volvo with the dope. It's 2 Jeeps riding with us. We ain't even bring no heaters. We coming to roll. This is what we do. We ain't about the violence, man. We is all about the money. Get the money, get the money. And we on Dexter and Joy Road. I'm driving. A traffic cop that know me. He know I'm out on bond for shooting the dude. He know I ain't got no license. Bitch flagging. Come on. Straight in the car. Here, throw them the keys. They going up there to Hogarth and Lawton. But when he flagged us, Jeep on the side of us, Wayne throw the dope in the Jeep. The Jeep hit the corner. So, you know, when they searched the car, wasn't nothing there. So I'm at the 10th precinct, Wayne and all them up there, waiting to pay my bond after my prints clear. The motherfuckers, they bring 2 dope fiends in there. They're in the cell next to me. So they kicking it. Damn, man, them niggas blow WW head off. Straight up, man. Did you see that shit? Yeah, man, I ain't saying shit, man. You know what I'm saying? I'm spellbound. Only stayed 2 blocks from the 10th precinct on Yosemite and Elmhurst. I get home, my mama standing in the door crying. And I'm like, Ma, you all right? I said, I'm all right. I gotta go though, Ma. No. You know what I'm saying? You know, I said, yeah. It just ain't really hit me. When I get over to Cascade, everybody standing around and they just looking at me. I'm like, you know, tears fall. You know what I'm saying? I love that brother, man. I miss him. He didn't deserve that. You know what I'm saying? Wayne got killed over straight up jealousy. Ain't owed nobody. You know what I'm saying? We wasn't stepping on no toes. It was 4, 5 bags up there. Motherfucker had fear of a black planet rolling. You know what I'm saying? Public enemy like a motherfucker. That's all we did. We wasn't about the violence unless you trying to hurt us. You know what I mean? And shit, man.
So when you got out of prison in 86, everyone was sent Raymond was dead at this point.
Raymond was dead. Raymond was a good dude also, man. I can't say nothing bad about Baby Ray. But Butch had basically everything in control. A lot of motherfuckers used to roll with me and Wayne us. They with Butch, and niggas was with Raymond. They with Butch. You know what I'm saying?
Butch took the whole thing on.
Yeah.
But
like he always said.
He's locked up.
But let me go back to the time when Butch dropping me and Mark off with 300 bundles going to Highland Park. Young B and Mark, I know y'all with Wayne, man, but I want to spit something at y'all. I'm going to take this motherfucking city over. I need y'all to get down with me. But I tell Butch, I say, dig, man, I got to wait on Wayne. I need my money from Wayne. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to respect that. Keep that between us. I never said nothing about it. But just like, say, in 82, Wayne just had gave everything to me. Wayne trying to step out of the game. Wayne had changed his mannerism of dress, speech, wearing this goddamn Jerry curl shit. I ain't understanding, but he's getting into a whole new crowd of people. You know what I'm saying? These square motherfuckers with that clean dollar. You know what I'm saying? Filtering his money.
6 days after the 9/11 attacks, FBI agents approached a house in Detroit looking for a suspected terrorist, Nabil al-Marab.
4 Arabs are accused of providing support for attacks against American targets.
The Justice Department says the 4 were part of a sleeper operational combat cell.
Attorney General John Ashcroft hailed the case as a major coup.
3 Michigan men suspected of having knowledge of the September 11th attacks, for example, were arrested on charges of possessing false documents.
Now you have the Attorney General mentioning it, and I think that made the case a bigger issue in D.C. than it had been before that.
Youssef Mimsa, whose false documents had been found during the Detroit raid, was arrested on charges of credit card and ID fraud. He cut a deal with the prosecution, agreeing to testify against Kubriti and the others.
Mimsa said that he knew these people. He identified them as potential terrorists. He said they had discussed terrorist activities. So without Mimsa, I don't think there would have been a prosecution.
As the judge was preparing to hand down his sentence, he got some disturbing information.
The U.S. attorney said, Judge, I have to come and see you. I've already talked to the defense lawyers about this, but I have a pretty serious matter to raise with you. I said, what's the nature of it?
Judge Rosen was eventually given page after page of documents that the lead prosecutor, Rick Convertino, never handed over to the defense. Among them, this letter from a drug kingpin named Milton Butch Jones, whose prison cell was next to the prosecution's star witness, Youssef Mimsa.
And I read it, and it was pretty shocking.
In it, Jones says Mimsa boasted how he lied to the FBI, how he fooled the Secret Service agent on his case.
This was before anything about what Mimsa was going to say was public. He had so much detail about what Mimsa later did testify to that he could only have gotten that information at the time from Mimsa.